government finances or the fiscus. After 19 months of a very challenging period, but a very creative process, Cabinet on Wednesday agreed that, having taken note of the fact that on the 30th of April, SAA came out of business rescue, that the following are the parameters within which SAA will work in the future. SAA will be owned by a partnership between government and a strategic equity partner. Having evaluated the current environment, government has agreed to the SEP owning 51% of the shareholding and government 49% of the shareholding. The strategic equity partner is known as Takatso, which is a consortium, and the word Takatso in Sotho means aspire. And this consortium is 51% black-owned. It brings together two very resourceful entities, Harith, which is a funder, an infrastructure investor, and an airport owner, and Global Airways, which has sufficient and interesting experience in the airline industry. This is, as our statement indicates, a demonstration of South Africa's ability to develop an entirely homegrown solution to successfully relaunch SAA, as I pointed out earlier, as a sustainable, competitive, and transformed airline. And once again, so that we understand this clearly, this airline is not dependent on the fiscus. So that we understand the basis of the past and the future, the past has always been one in which government takes responsibility, for example, for the voluntary severance packages and any other financial responsibilities arising from, let's call it the old SAA. As of the relaunch of SAA, the finances for the operations of SAA will be provided by the Takatso Consortium and not by government. So why did government look into the possibilities of a strategic equity partner? This gives us an opportunity to combine both public and private sector capabilities in order to reposition SAA both within the domestic market, but importantly on the continent and beyond as well. It will enable us to augment SAA with technical, financial, and operational expertise. SAA itself, notwithstanding what we've heard in the recent past, is a well-known brand on the continent and globally. It will contribute its brand, its landing slots, its route licenses, its lounges, and its loyalty program, amongst other things, into the partnership. SAA, of course, like every airline in the world, has been impacted severely, as have other South African airlines, by the pandemic. And as a result of the trajectory which the pandemic has taken across the world, as you know, borders have been opening and closing at various stages. There's no doubt, as the IATA points out, that vaccination of the entire population of the world, at least the adult population, will make a huge difference to both regional travel and indeed global travel as well. And in the African context, there is a huge need for African connectivity between the major cities and major centers of economic activity, but in terms of family connections as well. It is anticipated that Africa will be the largest and growing and most rapidly growing market as far as aviation is concerned, in terms of the movement of people, cargo, and trade, particularly in the context of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement beginning to settle in. The objectives of the partnership clearly is to relaunch, as I pointed out, a viable, scalable, and agile national airline, which is not dependent on the fiscus. SAA will be a substantial operating business in its own right. It will almost immediately begin to revive and re-establish partnerships with African and international airlines and networks to fully access the growing African aviation market. It will build, through this partnership, a model public-private partnership that leverages the commercial skills of the consortium. It will build on the brand name and positive image of SAA, and which together will serve the national interests of South Africa. An airline connectivity for a country that is at the lower end of the Southern Hemisphere is absolutely crucial, both for its economy, but also in particular for tourism, which is a major contributor to South Africa's economy. In building this partnership, we will build a new and unique South African culture in the airline, which showcases the country's broad skills, talent, and diversity. So where is this process at the moment? There will be a memorandum of understanding that has been signed between the consortium and government, firstly. Secondly, government has undertaken the appropriate due diligence exercise into the consortium itself. Thirdly, the consortium will complete its due diligence exercise into the airline. Fourthly, once those processes are completed, there will be the signing and agreement on a purchase and sale agreement. And in parallel with that, there will be taking place for both immediate or relatively immediate flying as far as SAA is concerned, but also a route plan, a fleet plan, and a staffing plan that will incorporate the best that is available to us. The key elements then, let me repeat, is that the Takatso Consortium will own 51% of the airline and government 49%. The intention is to list the airline in the future to address future funding requirements, but also enable South Africans to buy shares into this airline once it has settled down in its new form. Again, as a reminder, the funding will be provided by the consortium, which has mobilized the necessary capital. The operational capability will come both from ex-SAA staff, but importantly from the consortium as well. On the board of SAA, the new SAA, board seats will be allocated in accordance with the proportions of ownership that I've indicated earlier on, and any variations on that depending on the outcome of the due diligence exercises. Similarly, as far as management is concerned, the composition of the management team will take into account South Africa's national demographics and transformation agenda. Government will have a golden share, which of 33%. In other words, this is a non-dilutable share that the consortium and government has agreed on if there are changes in the shareholding. And it will also enjoy certain preemptive rights while taking responsibility for the historic liabilities. As part of the due diligence exercise, there will also be an evaluation of the subsidiaries, that's in particular Airchefs, SAA Technical, which is an important asset to have in South Africa, but which was also made a mess of during the process of corruption and state capture. And the future of Mango will also be determined accordingly. It is important to emphasize that transformation in the broadest sense is a very important component of this new process and partnership that we have undertaken. Firstly, as I said, there will be a majority black ownership since the consortium is 51% black owned. That far as the board and management is concerned, The composition of the board, the composition of the management, and staffing shall take into account the appropriate skill sets that are available, but in order to represent the national demographics of South Africa and the transformation agenda that our society has. The chairperson of the board shall be a South African. The airline will be domiciled in South Africa. The majority of the executive team will be South African, and if there's a need, expertise will be brought in from the outside. But in the next few years, we must have a fully trained, demographically representative management capability within South Africa to run airlines well into the future. As far as pilots are concerned, the consortium will prioritize the training and promotion of qualified black pilots as part of a non-racial team of qualified men and women. And women in particular will be given opportunities through this transformation agenda. So, ladies and gentlemen, once the due diligence exercise is completed and many of these elements have taken on their final form, we will keep the public further informed about the exact launch dates and so on. But our objective of creating a viable, competitive, sustainable airline, which is not dependent on the fiscus, takes a huge step forward with this agreement being in place and with the partnership that we have created as government with this consortium. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. We now open for questions. I don't see any hands raised. Let me go to the chat. Colleagues, you can raise your hand or either write your questions down on the Q&A or the chat. Tando Maeko from Business Day, does the private include the sale share of SA subsidiaries? I think Minister have answered that. How much is the equity partner pumping into the deal? How long will the due diligence take? Minister, you've got that. The next one, from Kate Nathan, please clarify the subsidiaries position. I thought Minister clarified it. But from also Arthur Goldstone, question for Gideon Novik, do you plan to introduce novel business models at SAA of the kind that characterize Kulula and Lift? Minister, you'll decide who takes whether. So yeah, those are the questions. The issue on the clarifying the position of subsidiaries is Minister thinks clarified. Sibahle from Jacaranda FM, will new airline keep its name or will there be a new name for the airline? I think that's the fourth question. I'll leave you to answer those questions, Minister, so that we can get to the next round.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me first take the opportunity to introduce the two representatives of the consortium, that is Takatso. The one gentleman that will also like to address you, I'm sure at some stage, is Sepo Mashlole. He's representing Harith in this consortium, and Gideon Novik is representing Global Airways in this consortium as well. How much they are pumping in, let them make the confession to you on that, but it's a total of over 3 billion rands in the initial stages, and they will decide how to raise further capital if they actually need it. How long will the due diligence take? Well, it's not about how long, but it's how short a time can we finish this in so that we can get this process off the ground. So another few weeks, we'll see the conclusion of this process. As far as the subsidiaries are concerned, as I said, they are currently undergoing review. Some of them will have to undergo some levels of restructuring. And an important component, by the way, of our understanding with the consortium is that there will be an employee incentive or share scheme still to be discussed in detail, so that employees at the new SAA have a stake in the airline as well. The name will remain the same, but we will see if some creative genius can be applied to that as well. So, Richard, let me give Mr. Mashlore the opportunity to say a few words, followed by Mr. Novik.
Okay, thanks, Minister. Mr. Mashlore, can you open your video icon so that the broadcasters can see you?
Okay.
Thank you. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Richard. From our side, we're very glad that we have reached this point, with your department, Minister, and the government in general. We believe that, with the experience that we've put together as an investment house with infrastructure assets and transport assets across the continent, we believe that with this initiative of South African Airways and partnering with yourselves and with Gordhan and his team at Global, we believe that this is a very novel sort of venture, bringing the best of South Africa together to sort of solve some of our pertinent challenges that we've had for a while. And we believe that, the whole sector, from our point of view, is one that is growing, especially in the African sense, and look forward to a very profitable and sustainable venture going forward in this partnership. We really are very enthused that Gordhan and his team, looking at the experience of what they've done in this sector over many decades, with his experience in various ventures across the sector. We were looking forward to this and believe that it will be a very good venture going ahead.
Mr. Novik.
Mr. Novik.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Richard. Thanks, Tepo, for handing over and for your trust. Quite an emotional day for me and my team. It's not very often that one gets an opportunity to live one's dream and work in an industry that one loves, the way I and my team love the airline and aviation industry. But to layer that with an opportunity to serve our country is very special. So a deep, deep thank you to you, to your colleagues. Sangay and Venkat, I think, need a special mention. They've been exceptional. We've had incredible dealings with your team, and thank you. Many people have said that we are crazy collectively to be starting an airline or restarting an airline in this environment, in today's environment. We're experiencing the third wave of COVID right now. Ironically, we believe quite strongly it's the best time. Airline models around the world, legacy models, are being challenged. They are flawed in many ways. The opportunity to access aircraft at very affordable prices, and most importantly, the opportunity to access unbelievable talent in this industry, unbelievable talent that actually exists right here in South Africa, is an incredible opportunity right now. So timing-wise, I think we've got it right. I think we're fortunate, and we're going to build something special. As Tsepo mentioned, we have the perfect ingredients. We've got all the knowledge and insight and national interest that government brings. We've got the capital and financial insight and African experience that Harith has. And from a global point of view, we have incredible depth of experience and talent in the airline industry. We've got a lot to do. It's certainly keeping us up at night. The list is long. We've got to figure out which routes we want to fly. We've got to figure out what planes we want to fly. We've got to figure out, we've got to understand the subsidiaries of SAA a lot better than we currently do. And we really want to focus on customers, and in particular customers that have been so loyal in the past in the Voyager program and generally, and we want to win them back. And we want South Africans to know that this is going to be their airline. So just to end off, again, a thank you. I flew SAA for the first time when I was a little kid. I was privileged enough to get on a 747. And in those days, to get to Europe, you had to fly all the way around the bulge of Africa because SAA wasn't allowed to fly over Africa. The flight took about 20 hours, which I was delighted about because I loved flying so much. But just so exciting to be launching a brand new SAA. This is going to be an iconic South African brand. It's going to be something that not only all South Africans are proud of, but something that we're going to make a statement globally in terms of what South Africa can achieve. Thank you once again.
Richard, I can see some of the questions, so let me go through them. Sebo, you want to come in first? Richard, hold on. Let me just take the questions myself. I can see it on my screen. So just give me a second while I get to the right one. There are a couple of questions about where does Lyft stand and where does Mango stand. All of that is in the mix at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. So in a few weeks' time, we'll indicate to you as a partnership where each of these elements fall into the equation. Bashley, we've attended to yours. That could some of the subsidiaries be closed down? Anything can happen. So let's just go through the current period of evaluation to see what other moments of creativity we can have from the new partnership in relation to how we handle each of them. We will all be very careful about how we look after staff. And it is at this point that I want to clarify something, because there's a question here somewhere, is how much more will this cost? We've got to draw a line in the sand today. And the line in the sand is in respect of concluding the business rescue process, which is government's responsibility. And whilst that is being undertaken, which includes the issue of the Pilots Association as well, and while that is being concluded, we are starting the process of getting the partnership on its feet. So that which we have to deal with in relation to the business rescue process, whether that is further staff that still have to be paid out their retrenchment packages, although most of them have already been paid, whether it is certain creditors that need to be settled. As you know, once out of business rescue, a receivership is created and has been created by the creditors. It is that receivership which over the next 2 years still has to pay off lessors of aircraft to SAA, for example. And those are issues that will conclude in their own right on a separate trajectory. Today, we launch a different trajectory. And the different trajectory is the new SAA under the control of a new partnership, and which will serve, as both the gentlemen have pointed out, the national interest as we go forward. But of course, we've got to serve the commercial interests of the partners as well. How much money does Lonnie Prinsloo ask this question? Does government still need? So I've just indicated that we've said this for some time now, but somehow there's an inability to appreciate these two tracks. The one track, as I said, is concluding business rescue. In that particular regard, over the next 2 years or 2.5 years, including the past year, a total of 14 billion rands is required. 10.5 billion rands will find its way to us once the special appropriation bill has been passed in Parliament and assented to by the President. And the rest we'll see how we sort out within government. But as far as the new airline is concerned, government will not be putting in any more money. And that's the clear message that we would like to communicate to you and with you. Given the loss of faith in SAA, how will it rebuild its credibility? Well, I think both my colleagues on the call have indicated that this is a new beginning, and it's an opportunity to win back the trust and confidence. And of course, given the fact that we are in a very competitive market, the partnership must expect that all sorts of uncalled for shots will be taken at this particular announcement. But that's par for the course in business, I suppose, and as is part of the competitive spirit in which the aviation market actually operates. But we hope that there's a decent and constructive relationship with all the other airlines, and where possible, that the partnership will cooperate with them as well. The Pilots Association, I've given an indication of that already. How much is the equity partner putting in? I said to you that over 3 billion rands. How long will the due diligence take? The next few weeks. Clarify the position of the subsidiaries. I've done that 3 times already. Let me do it a 4th time and indicate to you that all the subsidiaries are currently being evaluated to see if there's a fit with the new partnership and to explore whether there are other options available to us as well. As far as the name is concerned, the name, as far as the partnership is concerned, will be retained, but anybody who has some interesting designs or ideas on the creative side, please submit them. And our partners will gladly welcome any thoughts in that direction.
Yeah,